Now let's talk about loops. So loops are a way for us to execute multiple times the same block of code. In this case, in this small example, we are having a for loop. There are several types of loop. This is just one of them, but most of them work basically the same way. So in this specific case, the braces are delimiting the code that we would be executing over and over until this condition is false. So in this case, we're saying, hey, we want to have this variable named I, and the first value that is going to have is 0, and we're going to keep incrementing this variable with this instruction here, I++. So this is going to print out that specific value while I is smaller than 3. When it would be equal than 3 or even greater, then that condition would be false, and then the code here within the braces will not be executed anymore. I hope that's clear. And that's basically what this part is explaining here. The other topic is how do we access the individual characters of a string? For instance, let's say that we have word, and word is assigned hello. So this word and then opening bracket a number, integer number, and then closing bracket. This would be retrieving the first character of this string. In this case, that would be H. And that's what this piece of code would be printing out here. So it would be saying the first letter is, then has some white space, and then it will be taking the variable of that letter. Now, what about the size? So this hello uh, string variable has some specific size. If we want to check the size of this string, this is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be saying, okay, 5 elements. Why that's important? Because in order to encrypt the messages later on, we are going to need to access, first of all, the individual characters, and then we need to know until what point we can keep extracting from that string. This is the exercise that we have here, and we are going to open this on Replit in order to start working on it. Remember, you need to fork this. That's okay. And then, yeah, so we have already a variable whose type is string. We are reading from the console, and now this is saying use a for loop that will run starting at value 0 while I is smaller than the size of the name string variable, and it says within the loop of the body of that for loop, access the characters at position I and print them to the console. So we'll be combining here a few things. So first of all, we need the for loop, and we need an integer variable. It is asking us to name that I and initialize. It says starting at value 0, and then it is saying why I is smaller. This is the sign, the operator for that operation is smaller than the size of the name variable. So that would be name dot, if you remember, size. Let me just double check that. Yeah, it is size. And then we are saying while that is true, so that would be doing until I is smaller than the size of that string, and then it is going to keep incrementing. And now we need, if you remember, we need braces for the code that would be run over and over. and it says print it out to the console. So the cout function was the one helping us for that purpose, and it is asking us to print out to access the character at that position I and print it to the console. So that would be basically using what we just learned, which is referring name, and then if you remember, we had the brackets, and inside the brackets we needed an integer. In this case it would be this integer, and that's it. So it's going to start in 0, it's going to keep incrementing, and it's going to print out that to the console. So let's run it. Let's hit enter. Yeah, and as you can see, it was able to read from the console, and then it was able to print out that value that we had just entered. Give it a try. Enjoy learning. See you on the next part.